State on how they express.
It was going away.
No Uber. I can see her face from here.
I'm gonna take a Tylenol and kill myself. Do the rest.
We'll be getting underway in 10, 9. Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for tonight, April 8th, 2025. Before we get underway, Pastor Ben Polson from Poplar Ridge Church is here to open us up in prayer. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for having me. Would you pray with me? Father, we thank you for this glorious sunny day you gave us and the hope of warmer temperatures to come. And I so appreciate people willing to give up of themselves, of their time, for the betterment of their fellow citizens, for the betterment of our community. I pray that you would grant them wisdom, direction, Lord, as they seek to do their jobs and their roles in our community. Bless them, Father. Thank you for bringing us all here safely, and we trust you watch over us as we go home. Thank you for the men and women who serve here. Bless them, watch over them, and grant them wisdom. Through Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. This meeting is now officially called to order. Let the record show that all the members of council are present this evening. And would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening we get to start our meeting with some special guests. Nikki Warnke is here to introduce the review of the Parks and Riverfront Master Plan.
I'm the special guest. No, I'm
You're
just
the special
kidding.
guest.
I just want to introduce Nathan and Cindy from JPR, who is one of our consultants for the Parks and Riverfront Master Plan. They are going to be presenting. We're wrapping up phase 2 of the plan, so they're going to do a presentation for you guys to kind of give you an update of what we've done the past year on all of this fun stuff.
Thank you, Council, for your time and for hearing us, and we look forward to kind of presenting this whole process. My name is Nathan Dyke with JPR, kind of leading the project. And really, today is really a culmination of almost exactly a year. We're about a month shy, but 11 months of this planning process of community engagement, really reaching out to the community, hearing input and working towards the final vision of developing this master plan. So tonight we'll go through kind of an overview of the project, where we've come today, and we'll also look at a couple of the concepts that have been developed for the riverfront. So if you've taken the survey that's out there, there'll be the same concepts there. We'll also be talking about a little bit of those results that have come back from survey number 4. And what that feedback is showing. That survey closed on Sunday, so it's kind of information here. And then we'll also talk about the next steps and what's the track look like moving forward as we continue on to the next steps. So I have with me here Sydney King as well. But obviously, as you can see on the slide here, there's a large amount of staff on background project as well, both planning, landscape architecture, and engineering, who've really pushed this project forward. So the project vision of what is really guiding the project as a whole, right? You got to have a vision to know where you're headed towards. So this vision is developing a community-supported parks and riverfront master plan that can be successfully implemented through capital projects, programmatic strategies, and operations. So really focusing on a lot of key things there that we want to see all the way through this plan, and things that a lot of times plans aren't factoring in, of some of those last items, the operations, some of those key points. But as we dive a little bit further, looking at the 4 goals of the plan, Goal 1 is to promote public health, safety, and social justice throughout the plan. Goal 2 is to improve environmental quality and reducing flood risk, which is prevalent as you're looking at the rivers today. Goal 3, developing vibrancy and placemaking along the river corridors. And goal 4, improving connectivity to and between the parks. So as we're looking at parks, right, Defiance is blessed with a lot of parks. So this study encompassed 20 parks in total, along with the riverfront area and connectivity between those 20 parks. So those 20 are ranging from, the large parks that I think everybody in the community knows, the Kingsbury, Bronson, all the way down to some of the smaller parks like Palmer and Livingston over by the high school that people may not be aware of. That's something we kind of saw in the early surveys as well. But all the way up to Knights of Columbus on the north end of town, Bronson on the south end, East Side on the east side, and then Reservoir all the way to the west. So really taking a very large encompassing look at every single park, all the rivers and the connections. So how have we done this? So phase 1 it consisted of base inventory and an opportunity analysis. So that's really just laying the groundwork, helping us really understand where Defiance sits today with what they have in place and what is the community in need of or desire. So like any master planning process, our first step is just listening. So we started right off the bat with a kickoff meeting with the steering committee, and then went out and looked at some of the parks with the steering committee. And really, we were blessed and very proud to see that after sitting through probably a 3-hour kickoff meeting, there were still folks that wanted to go out and show us the parks. Really proud of what the parks were, and carried with us through 3 or 4 parks that we went to visit. Following that up, we visited every single park throughout the community with our staff, looked at them, into the restrooms, into everything, just to really get a really good understanding of what's there today. Also having, then coming back for the Family Fun Friday event last summer to be the river of going on a bear walk. So as children and families were going through that book, they came to the river. Obviously, that's going to be us for the riverfront and parks, right? But being able to really talk to community members and really get a good understanding of what folks are looking for in the parks, in the riverfront, within Defiance. Follow that up with public survey number 1, which really focused on our broad level. What do people want to see? Do they want to see this program or this program? Which programming item is kind of the highest priority? And that really helps us understand what the community wants to see, what's missing, and maybe where those opportunities are. So we received over 500 responses, really guiding us towards that. And that was really helpful. A couple of the key items coming out of that was, which matches in with the goals, connectivity, focusing on the current parks, the current 20, in lieu of looking at new parks and kind of adding to the system. And then also noting that wanting to see the waterways being very important and being utilized. So we then presented all of that information in public workshop 1 and followed that up with survey number 2, which really worked to refine into, all right, here's what we heard. Did we hear it correct? And what's those next steps begin to look like? From there, we transitioned into phase 2, where we began to develop bubble diagrams. So this is the starting of the planning and design. So developing bubble diagrams, similar to what you see in the top left corner there for all 20 parks. So each park received at least 2 designs, taking all of that programmatic. What did people want to see at Holgate? How does that then look as we overlay this component into that park? Those were then released for a survey, public survey number 3, where we got almost 600 responses, where people were able to vote. concept 1 or concept 2 for Holgate, which one do I like better, and provide comment on why. And that was very helpful to really gain a good understanding. And from there, we were able to progress with where the community thought were the most important or highest desired improvement areas, being the riverfront, Reservoir, Bronson, and Deal Parks. In the bottom left corner, you can see kind of a rendering there of Deal Park, of what level we took that to really continue to gain feedback. Meeting with the steering committee and getting their involvement and guidance through that, which has then brought us to public survey number 4, which just closed Sunday, where we've presented those concepts along with the renderings for the riverfront to get feedback and understanding of, are these moving in the right track? So we'll talk about that, those results here in just a minute. But that's kind of guiding us into phase 3. Kind of at the tail end of phase 2, we started pulling together the partnering framework and implementation plan, which is going to be key for that next step. Go ahead into phase 3. So phase 3, phase 1 and 2 look really pretty, a lot of pictures. Phase 3 is what's ahead, right? So we have 2 really key components. One is really fun, but the other one is probably the most important part. So the fun part being taking the 2 concepts that we'll present here tonight, narrowing it down to 1, and have a new plan rendering and then 3D renderings to go with that to really understand what's happening in this space. So that's the fun part. The important part is that partnering framework and implementation plan. That's really the key and the guide to the success for this plan. So that's looking at every single park, every single action item within that park. What's the next step? What's the operational budget impact look like? What are maybe some potential permitting challenges that may go with that? Who are some partners, whether that's in a funding or other partners within the city or the county or a greater region that could help either in a funding or just moving a project forward, right? Not necessarily every item in the park is necessarily spearheaded by the city. Sometimes there's other collaboration. And sometimes that's really the key to really help things go forward, is that collaboration. So being able to kind of really set those steps and simply for each action item, just identify what's the next step and who's in charge, right? So being able to really understand as we look at a park, look at an item, and those are even broken down into what are some quick wins. So what's a project that we can do with minimal budget, but really make a great impact, to more capital projects that may take a little bit more planning or need capital improvements to move forward. So kind of breaking it down in that standpoint. So we'll be continuing to work through those with city staff and the steering committee, wrapping that all up into the report that you, I think, received a draft of here earlier this week, and having that final report that kind of works through everything. So we've talked about, very first part of that vision was community supported. So we've had almost 2,000 participants in various components of that engagement process, which has been very valuable for us as a design team. The last thing we want to do is design a master plan or a park or any kind of component without really understanding from the community, designing in a vacuum. It doesn't do us any good. It doesn't do the community any good. So we feel that having a lot of this feedback from 4 surveys, stakeholder meetings, and steering committee, the family fun event, the workshops, has really given us a guide to not only hear what people are wanting, but being able to put that on paper, gain further feedback of, yes, this is what we want, or no, I think you got it off here. Let's tweak that and revise that a little bit. That even goes into social media. You can see there's 400 followers on the page that receive updates on the project as it's progressing. So if you're not and you're on Facebook, find the page and follow. You can stay up to date there as well. But really taking all of that information has kind of culminated to where we are today with these 2 renderings where we'll focus on the riverfront and kind of present those, both to share an update, but also for feedback as well, if anybody has feedback. So Cindy will kind of talk through that process and where we've gotten, and then present both of those concepts here.
So real quick here before we dive into the riverfront concepts, just wanted to reiterate how we got to these final two options. So like Nathan talked about, we had the kickoff meeting, we did the site visits, and a lot of community engagement. And we took all of that feedback and kind of created 3 bubble diagrams that were released to the steering committee and also in a public survey. Once we got all of that feedback, we were able to create these final 2 concepts. So we'll look at concept 1 first here, and this is largely based off of the first concept in that original survey. But what really makes this one unique is the pedestrian connection across the river. So this one, it connects Kingsbury, Pontiac, and the fort grounds, but we've got a bit of a landing in the fort grounds in this first option. At the Clinton Street Bridge, we are showing a historical Centennial Plaza that kind of frames both sides, creating a gateway into downtown. And we're also focusing a lot on having these boardwalks and trails along the rivers. It was noted in our survey that 62% of the respondees would visit more parks if there was better connectivity between them. So we really focused on that quite a bit in these options. So looking a bit closer into the confluence, we'll run through all of these programming elements. So in North Gateway, we are showing a pollinator native planting garden with some passive walkways and a parking lot. This would transition into that Centennial Plaza that frames both sides of the Clinton Street Bridge. We would still have that underpass under the bridge on the north side, and that would lead into Pontiac, but really providing a central location for all of those historical elements in this plaza space. Moving into Pontiac, we're having a botanical garden. It was also noted in the survey, 46% of the respondees are really interested in having more water activities on the rivers. So we're highlighting that with some kayak launches, which you can see by the letter B in Pontiac. Moving further towards the center, we are showing a large event lawn, kind of a formal lawn that could be used for weddings in the summertime, just another venue that the city could rent out. We are showing a event center. This is the smaller of the 2 options, but it has the ability for that pathway to kind of ramp up towards the roof of that event center and then connect to that bridge across Maumee. We do have the boat launch in a similar location in this concept as well. Moving to the fort grounds, really focusing on having some more improved walkways. So on the north side, we kind of have a dual level walkway. You would have that treetops trail as well as one at the bank level. And this would continue to the west and provide a connection under the Clinton Street Bridge on the south side. And that would go into North Gateway, or South Gateway, sorry. This one, we are providing parking, a plaza for farmers markets, as well as a rentable shelter. And then something new in this concept, we are showing this Miami-Erie Canal corridor. So between Perry and Clinton Street in that alleyway, really providing a strong pedestrian connection with some seating, lights, landscape, kind of provide a downtown eating spot in the summertime. On the east side of Fort Grounds, we are showing an educational trail, just improving that walkway along the Oglais River there. As we go into Kingsbury, we heard the responses loud and clear, and the baseball diamond is staying exactly where it is today in both concepts. But just to the north of that, we have a large event lawn with a stage, just trying to provide a local venue for your festivals in the summertime. And then on either side, it is framed with some boulders, kind of these outcroppings to allow people to walk down to the river and engage with the water if they would like. Where that bridge lands into Kingsbury, there's a large plaza that could be available to food trucks and kind of support that event lawn in the summertime. The pickleball is remaining as it is today, just providing some more parking and a kayak launch to the north of it as well. On the east side of the baseball diamond, we are showing a skate park, and then just kind of an entry plaza between the pool and the baseball diamond. To the west side, kind of near the 2nd Street Bridge, we are showing a large mixed-use plaza with a mixed-use building with the option for commercial on the bottom and residential on top. Ice skating was the 4th most requested activity in our survey, so we are showing an ice skating ribbon in this park in kind of in the central location, as well as some additional rentable shelters. And then primarily the rest of Kingsbury is used for parking to support those programming. In Buckman, kind of on the corner of 2nd Street and Eau Glaze, we have a mixed-use building with the opportunity for a history center in the base level. The park largely has a passive walking loop with a riverside amphitheater, as well as 7 pillars to represent the native tribes that used to be in the area. Our survey results came back as 83% of them would like to have Defiance's culture represented in the park system. And then Riverside, for this first concept, we are keeping all of the play fields as they are today, just revamping that playground and providing some outdoor exercise equipment, and then some large looping walkways through that forested area, as well as some shelters. To the north, we have a kayak launch with a parking lot, and then we are showing a pedestrian connection across the Eau Glaze River with a new bridge, providing access to east side as well as north to the riverfront. So that is concept 1. Moving on to concept 2, this is largely based off of the 3rd concept from those bubble diagrams. But what makes this one unique, the pedestrian connection across the rivers there has that landing spot in the confluence. We are showing a marsh in Kingsbury, and then as well as the Eau Glaze boardwalk at Buckman. So we would have boardwalks on both of those bridges at 2nd Street and Hopkins. So moving to the confluence, in North Gateway, we are showing a skate park as well as an adventure boardwalk. This would connect under this Clinton Street Bridge, as it does today, into Pontiac. And we'd have a historical plaza with some raised planters, just providing more of a historical walk, spreading those out in this concept. That would move to some formal gardens. Again, a wedding venue would be possible here. And then the ice skating ribbon is located centrally in Pontiac. And then this concept has the larger of the 2 event centers with a large overlook deck onto the confluence that would then connect into that bridge. For the fort grounds, we're keeping most of it the same as it is today, just improving that walkway on the north bank there. And then in this concept, we wanted to show the option of having boat docks downtown. So we have one of those located there. We would have that connection under the south side of the Clinton Street Bridge again, and that would go into South Gateway. And this would also have some opportunities for some boat docking, as well as a large pavilion for farmers markets. The canal corridor is also still present in this concept, just focusing a bit more on keeping the parking as it is today. Moving to Kingsbury, right where that bridge comes into Kingsbury, we would have a second landing spot for just a great overlook into that naturalized area. And then that would land towards the Outdoor Education Center. And it was noted that 68% of the respondees wanted a nature center or an outdoor education area, and that was the most requested activity from our survey, so just trying to provide that in Kingsbury. Pickleballs as it is today, but we did provide a playground next to it, another survey request as we were looking through those responses. To the east side of the baseball diamond, we have a mixed-use building as well as some outdoor dining areas, and then a drop-off area in plaza at the pool entrance. In this concept, we have that large event lawn central in Kingsbury, and 72% of our survey takers really wanted to see an enhancement of outdoor venues and provide that space for all of your summer festivals. And that just has a naturalized area around it, as well as a kayak launch and more boat docking opportunities. And then that mixed-use building, again, framing the 2nd Street intersection. Buckman has that mixed-use building on the corner of 2nd and Eau Glaze, with the option for a history center in the main level. A bit more active walkways in this concept, still having that amphitheater with those pillars, but just emphasizing those boardwalks on both of those bridges as a pedestrian connection. And then Riverside, for this concept, we really revamped that entrance area with a basketball court as well as a futsal court and a brand new playground. Again, we have those looping walkways with some overlooked decks and the kayak launch. We're just not providing that pedestrian connection across the Oglaze. And that is concept 2. And as Nathan said, our survey closed on Sunday, and so we've just been reviewing all of these responses. And concept 1 is pulling ahead at 60%, with concept 2 having 40% of the votes. But as we're reading those comments, there are a lot of people that say, I voted for concept 1, but I really loved this about concept 2. So as we move forward, we're gonna kind of mash both of them into that final concept that will be part of this implementation plan. But some of the key themes that really ring strong through these comments, people really want to improve the connectivity with those trails and those boardwalks. The event lawn was a fan favorite, really having that permanent area for all of your festivals. The boat launch and docking, so we provided the launch in one concept and the docking in the other, just to try and see, you know, which way everyone was leaning, and it sounds like you guys want them both. So those were both pretty prevalent in our comments. The Martian Education Center, while concept 2 was kind of the lower of the two as far as voting goes, that was mentioned quite a bit as a positive. And the event center in Pontiac also had quite a bit of excitement behind it.
So one of the other comments on that survey, which makes sense given recent events, was flooding. And just concerns with doing improvements within this area, within the flooding, within areas that may be underwater. And I think it's definitely absolutely something that we've considered already in the design process, but as projects move forward, continues to be something that wants to be thought about, considered. And what we've done is we've really been strategic of placing components where we feel like they can sustain the impacts of water, and really following suit of other projects that we've done, other cities, other improvements that they've done, river corridors, but also, even just taking advantage of the FEMA properties that you've secured in Kingsbury and really understanding those and the limitations that come with them. So it's definitely been a balancing act, and that's something that we heard a lot in that survey feedback. The other exciting thing as we're looking beyond the riverfront of just looking at the comments for Bronson, Deal, and Reservoir, really looking at them and just seeing kind of the approval rating of 4+ stars across the board on all 3. So for us, that really is exciting to see, of just plans that have been presented, refined, and continue to refine, but see that the community sees the value in those and that they're falling in alignment, and really seeing the support and gaining even good comments on those parks as well, of things that people like, or even some things that are new ideas that people are bringing to the table throughout this process. So it's been very helpful to us as a design team. So kind of next steps, looking out beyond here, obviously we've gotten a lot of feedback throughout this process, even with the survey that just closed Sunday. So kind of taking all of that, wrapping our heads around all of the comments that came in from those 500+ respondees, and really understanding those, and like Sydney said, moving the riverfront forward, taking concept 1 and 2 and merging what the community really voiced that they really want to see in that final one. We're pulling that together, developing those renderings, but again, back to that, the key part of that partnering framework and implementation plan. How do we get this moving forward? How do we outline those next steps and that game plan towards the success? So we'll be pulling all of that together, reviewing that with city staff, reviewing that with the steering committee, coming back again to present that final information, that long report that we shared, that will be kind of the final report for implementation, and then releasing that to the community as kind of the final document and the framework as we move forward. So with that, we thank you for your time, and I know we just went through 1 year of work in about 20 minutes. So we'd be happy to answer any questions, take any comments, feedback as you've seen these plans.
Thank you. What sort of questions would members of council have in these regards? Mr. Hancock?
My question in this process, and I believe that you're probably gonna be addressing it, is maintaining the conditions of the property. With the improvements that we do, you'll have that in the plan as well, correct?
Yeah, so part of that implementation framework, there'll be a whole section, column within that. So each park is then broken down by each task. Each task will have a column that identifies what are the operational impacts, whether that be, and that could be twofold. That could be manpower, that could be cost just on an operation. Certain things cost more money to operate. So take like the splash pad versus maybe a basketball court. They have two different components. So that'll be something that will definitely be considered in that framework. And then as we're designing, kind of trying to keep that in mind as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question.
Mr. Rusty?
A lot of good ideas in here. Community support. My big thing is waiting until you bring us the cost. And how does that measure against everything else that the city needs? So that's where I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, no, and good question. And that'll be a part of that implementation of kind of providing a budget for each line item and then as a whole as well. So.
No other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I've reviewed the index minutes for the last city council meeting. Mr. Corbett headed up on April 1st. Does anyone have a motion to correct or amend the index minutes as they're presented? All right. Without any, I will endorse them. Do we have any liaison meeting requests or reports? And do we have any comments from council this evening? Mr. Mast.
I just wanted to briefly say that Sunday afternoon, my kids and I got a chance to visit the Tuttle for their open event, and just wanted to mention that and say those guys, they do such a good job down there. They've got a great piece of history down there that my kids were fascinated every time I had to smack them to pay attention. But I think they learned a little bit, and as did I, and it's just a great place. If anybody gets a chance to visit, they should.
Excellent.
And I'll just add, Mr. Mast, that I've taken my grandchildren there a few times. Though I do think we probably think the young folks don't want to go to a museum. But I say challenge them and take them there. I think they would enjoy it. And I do know the schools do visit.
Mr. Hancock.
I just want to compliment the utility and tax department. We took some returns in there, and they were very helpful on assembling them together. Thank you, and it's coming soon.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right, Mayor McCann.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I think universally we're familiar with the Defiance Alliance or the Tri-River Alliance. 3 years ago, Defiance College, through Congresswoman Capter's office, applied for and received a grant. And we have worked jointly with Defiance College, primarily Jen and English and Dana, her assistant, have worked with the college, done lab work, done sampling, and built some minor ditches and swales and things that are proving to be beneficial in water quality. Improving our source water, that is the Maumee River, is something that's primary function of us here at the city, and we're working on, but that grant is coming to an end. And the college was working with their grant writer Bobby Mills to make another request through Congresswoman Capter's office, and discovered within the last few days that if we're going to continue with that, that grant request needs to come from the city of Defiance this time around. It's different, it comes from a different agency. So we're gonna start to work on that grant if there are no objections from council to do that. I don't wanna say it's a zero cost grant to us, it's not. I mean, there's work involved for all four of us, but as far as a large outlay of capital, that's not the case. We would apply for another 3-year grant, but the deadline will be here before you can officially approve any ordinance that allows us to move forward with that. But if I can at least get a head nod that you support going after that for another 3 years, we'll get busy.
Do we have to do anything, any kind of matching or anything, or is this just?
Before.
Just the cost of writing a grant, preparing.
He doesn't charge us.
Mr. Resty?
I think it's a worthwhile project. I'd support that.
Thank you, Mr. Resty. Actually, it does help offset some of Jen English's salary, so it's,
I'll support it also.
thank you.
I support it also.
All right. Well, let me know tonight or tomorrow if you have any more questions, and we'll move along with it. And thank you very much, and that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mack?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So my final announcement for Parks Cleanup. I've been hammering it home every meeting. Parks Cleanup, Saturday, April 12th. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there. It's a big event, as you can tell. As was mentioned, we've had a little bit of flooding, so there's plenty of cleanup to be done. I know our Parks Director, Rob Sarrigan, back there has been running around doing everything he can. It's kind of like the cleanup, before the cleanup begins, just to make sure the place looks nice for all the visitors. So he's been getting after it, but look forward to seeing people out there Saturday.
Mr. Mack, I know this is probably published, but you wanna give us the start time?
That's right here. Thank you, Corbett. So start time will be at 9:30. The entire event is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Take place at Bronson, Kingsbury, Riverside, Laddie's Grove, Eastside, Holgate, Fort Grounds, Pontiac, Deal, the Reservoir, Wirtz Park, and Riverside Cemetery. T-shirts while supplies last, so get there early, and we'll be having our host of local celebrities cooking hamburgers and bratwursts and all the normal food we use to keep people fed and happy as they do this. And then lastly, I would like to request an executive session under 121.22G1, hiring of a public employee.
We have a request for an executive session. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Mast. Second, Mr. Hancock.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Corbett,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock.
Yes.
Mr. Rusty,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Crutch. Yes.
All right, with that, before we adjourn for the evening, we'll have an executive session. And that's all.
That is all, Mr. President.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would request an executive session for a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that may be subject to imminent court action, 121.22G3 again.
All right, we have
So moved.
so moved, Mr. Engel.
Second.
Second, Mr. Corbett.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Rusty.
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch. Yes. Mr. Engel.
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett.
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll have a second executive session. Anything else, Mr. O'Donnell?
That's all I have.
And Ms. Sprague.
Yep, just a couple of things. Just a friendly reminder that the tax file day is Tuesday, April 15th. Our office closes at 4:30 p.m. And there is a secure drop box on the side of the building if you choose to use that. So, and the girls do a great job. They'll help anybody. They help me. They've helped all of us, so they're good at their jobs. And then the second thing is the auditors have been in. They made a recommendation. In the past, I had passed around the bank reconciliation for you to sign. They would like to see a motion of approval of the monthly financial packet that you get via Carrie's email and in your Dropbox. So the last Tuesday of the month, those items will be up for you to support approving. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, I guess always let me know. But the packet of information you get will still stay the same. You just won't need to sign it. Do you want to add anything, President McMaster?
Council members will receive a copy of the financials along with the agenda, and that there doesn't need to be a motion to approve.
Okay.
It'll be a motion if there's any objections or questions or corrections. But before the fourth meeting of the month, the financial packets will be coming along and the emails that usually accompany our agenda.
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
From time to time, Mr. President, due to a lack of agenda items, we cancel that meeting. Mrs. Sprague, can it wait till the following week? Okay.
Yep. They just want to see that on a regular basis, those are being reviewed and approved.
That's a good, fair question.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
Mr. Oresti.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this. Earlier this week, I asked Mayor McCann when our yearly spring spay and neuter program was set up for, and the reply was May 21st.
I believe it was May 21st, Mr. Oresti.
May 21st, and then with more details to come?
Yes, there'll also be one in the fall. I'm sure that date's on my calendar, but nobody remember anyway, but yes, May 21st.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of interest in the community, and I mean, I think I applaud council for supporting this, and I think it's beneficial for the community. So
that's a good catch. I'm glad you remembered that one. But with that, we do have one item of legislation for considering this evening.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing a construction service contract for the water pollution control plant improvements and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. If council will remember, over the years that we have gone through the IWIP program for Water Pollution Control Division, we have had a company, Strand & Associates, there advising us through all the EPA negotiations, now through some of the design of what the modifications to the plant and our system have to look like. The contract that we are asking for approval on is a continuation of that service. It actually gets into the construction side. I've kind of forewarned you a little bit this year, earlier on, that there will be some major construction programs going on out at Mark's place out there. So it's on the horizon. This contract will allow Strand to kind of oversee that for us, do that construction monitoring, all the things that are entailed with that. So we just ask for your approval on it. If you have any questions, our Water Pollution Control Superintendent, Mark Leonard, is here to answer them.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Mr. Leonard or Mr. Mack? Mr. Mast.
This is still planning phase stuff, right? This 457 still doesn't get a shovel in the ground or anything?
This is their, and correct me if I'm right or incorrect, Mark, this has them monitoring once the shovels are in the ground. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we're gonna have a bid opening here in June, and we'll be advertising with a pre-bid meeting coming up, and we hope to award the contract I think by August 1st. So we wanna go right from the from the engineering contract right into the construction contract. So Melinda will roll this into the same loan as the wastewater treatment plant. This will go into the WPCLF construction loan.
So this amount gets Strand through the end of the project?
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Yes. Into I believe 27 is our deadline in 2027, so.
So
This is
just for these phase of
Yeah.
projects, though, we have 20 years worth of projects.
Right, but
Phase
this
up, but for
particular
this phase of
project-
projects.
So
We're
if
not
this
gonna have
isn't
to pay
done,
it
Mark,
again.
if this isn't done, what happens then?
Well,
I mean, if it ain't done by 2027,
our project, the construction?
Yeah.
Well, then we have to answer to EPA. We are under a deadline of what we submitted, what we brought to council, and what we submitted to Ohio EPA.
Yeah.
We submitted a schedule, and that deadline's 2027 to have
Okay.
that
Now,
operational.
I know you said this covers them until 2027, that was my question.
For this, like Mr.
This
Mack was
project.
saying, they could be working on, they might be commissioned to work on something else. You know, this doesn't cover that. This just covers the construction services for the headworks and for the septic receiving station. And I have a list here, if you want me to read it, there's
No,
about 10
that's-
items of what it does cover. Project administration and coordination, pre-construction conference, submittal review, construction progress meetings, contractor pay application review, equipment startup and training, O&M manual, project closeout services, record drawings, post-construction consultation, and special, we have some if authorized services too in here. That's if we need more site visits from them or additional sampling, so.
The rationale behind doing this piece before we've even awarded the contract for the actual work was the bidding contractors, if they have any questions, they can also consult with Strand. Strand will be available for the bid opening, reviewing the bids, making recommendations and so on and so forth. So it seems a little bit cart before the horse, but.
What's the scope of this project that they're gonna be handling? I mean, at the septic receiving station, right? Plus,
Yeah, and the new headworks building and then the bypass that we're putting in. It's about we're looking at about $4.7 million construction cost. Right, about $5 million would be a good number to use. So, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow the headworks to screen more debris in that during higher flows. Right now, we can't screen all the debris that comes in. It goes around our screenings and it causes a lot of problems in the plant and whatnot. So,
And then the septic receiving one will be a big
And-
project as well.
septic receiving, and that generates revenue for us too. And we're hashing around some ideas of allowing septic haulers to come in after hours, but we have to put in some safeguards and stuff. And also, it'll allow us to accept, like right now, we haven't been able to accept any septic since the rainfall because there's just too much flow at the plant. If we had this station and we would accept it because there's gonna be a large tank in the ground. And once our flows go down at the plant, then we'll just turn the pumps on and pump that into the plant. So, it helps. I know we didn't build the plant to help the septic haulers, but it does keep, septic waste off the farm fields and, helps with our rivers and whatnot, but it also generates an income for us too, a little bit of sidebar income, so.
Do we have any other questions in these regards?
There's no further questions, motion to suspend and call.
Motion to suspend and call, Mr. Corbett.
second.
Second, Mr. Mast.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
And Mr. Engel?
Yes. Motion adopted.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Engel. Second, Mr. Uresti.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is adopted. And with the items of legislation addressed, Do we have any citizens' concerns, or did any council members come with citizens' concerns? Well, we're not going to adjourn quite yet. We have 2 executive sessions, but we do have a few minutes to stand up and stretch our legs before we enter them.